First off, I want to thank Pastor Shelley and all my fellow participants for working tirelessly to make a difference in Puerto Rico. I also want to thank all of you who contributed financially and with prayers, making our mission trip safe and successful. This was my first mission trip, and I was not sure what to expect. As we prepared for the trip, fellow participant Dan Stamford would ask, "What are we doing?" Turns out Dan asks that question a lot. It is a good question. We initially needed to know the answer so we knew what to pack, but it became a mantra for some of us through our time there. It could be used as a deep intellectual question, but was especially effective when we used it comedically to pick on our fellow workers. "What are you doing?" I had never been to Puerto Rico before and was amazed with the people there. Their lives are forever changed since Maria landed on their shores. And yet they are kind, passionate, faith-filled, friendly people. They know their neighbors and they say hello. They do not hide their faith. During the services, you can see and feel their belief. It is contagious. Our second morning there, we were awakened very early with bells ringing, singing, and scripture. This was done obviously in Spanish over a loudspeaker in the town plaza. It was so loud that it felt like it was right in the very church we were staying. As you might have guessed, there was a lot of complaining from the Connecticut contingency about the whole racket. I won't mention names, but some people woke up pretty grumpy and tired that morning. Over the week, I came to see these morning celebrations as an amazing way to awaken every day, giving praise loudly to God. How different might our lives be if we started each day in that manner? So what did we do? Over the week, we worked on about a half dozen houses, sealing flat cement roofs. It was hot work in 90-plus degree weather, and we had to be careful to take breaks, to stay hydrated, and to slather on the suntan lotion. We looked out for each other, working together side by side. In so doing, we got to know each other better and formed some very good friendships. We also got to know the families, their history, their stories. They became accustomed to our banter, and some even joined in. At one home, our in-house translator, David Vargas, had to explain to the family that we were not being mean to each other. That was how we rolled, and we would not really be throwing anyone off the roof. We worked smart, we worked hard, and we had fun. Some of the less wealthy homes in the hills of Puerto Rico were hit hard by Maria. 6 of us were brought to one such house. It was one of our smallest roofs, but had the greatest impact on those of us there. This is the home of Romanita Sepulveda Galindo. After the steep drive up the hill to her home, we encountered a large pile of debris in front of her house. We learned that this was once her second floor. There was no scheduled date for this debris to be removed. When we inquired further if we could help make the pile disappear, we were told it's the job of the municipality and we were not to touch it. Romanita only spoke Spanish, but she brought us a letter written in English that welcomed us to her home, and it said, "Thank you forever." She fed us at breakfast a Puerto Rican cake and apples. She also shared with us her sweet dog, her various parrots, a lovebird, and her pet rooster named Petey. This is all she has left. Her home has been leaking since Maria, when she lost the second floor. The furnishings are worn and sparse. The kitchen appliances, old and tired looking. The toilet worked, but there was no running water in the bathroom sink, only a bottle of water on top to wash hands. The bathroom floor had a leak, and there were puddles on the floor. Of course, there was a picture of Jesus and several crosses in and outside the home. She has a lot of faith, and it shows. Romanita never once complained. I believe she enjoyed our company, especially Renee, who's booking her next vacation here. For the few hours we were there, she enjoyed standing on the staircase watching us take care of her roof. Understand, the second floor of her home was for family. Now she is alone. When we finished, she gave us hugs that lasted a long time and told each of us in her broken English, "I will love you forever." When we pulled away, there was not a dry eye in the van. We had gone to Puerto Rico to help change people's lives. It turns out they were changing ours. This will not be a political rant. However, we have a president that does not know Puerto Rico was part of the United States. It looks like they may have received all the help they're going to get under this administration. There are limits on what FEMA can do for a family. Homeowners do not have insurance for repairs. What are they going to do? Have we done our part? Were the half dozen houses we worked on and finishing touches on a church enough? Is it someone else's turn? Another church's turn? Jesus told us to care for the poor, the suffering, the widow, and strangers. What are we doing? As a community, we are tremendously blessed. I hope we can figure out how to further bless our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. Let me ask you, what are you doing? What are we going to do? Amen.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Alina Petroni, and I'm going to talk about the devotionals today that Shelley just mentioned with the children. As we boarded the bus Friday night, the bus taking us to JFK Airport, Shelley gave us our devotionals. These beautiful books are handmade by Shelley and would become one of my favorite things during our time in Puerto Rico. As we sat waiting for our flight, I skimmed through the book, and the first thing I saw were questions in need of answers. What did I know about Puerto Rico? These days, the luxury of a smartphone made answering the questions simple enough. But on April 26th, other than the events of Hurricane Irma and Maria, I knew almost nothing. I'm going to borrow a sentence from the book to explain its purpose. The journal has been designed to help you prepare, be present, and reflect on your mission experience. The book did exactly that for me. The morning meditations helped prepare me for a day ahead, and I got into the habit of making tea and trying to find a quiet moment before our day started. A challenge in itself when sharing a relatively small space with 14 other people. Each morning I would sit quietly to read and think about the words written and how I might take those words and turn them into actions that day. The questions in the book reminding me to ask questions, to get to know the families we helped, to learn their names, listen to their stories. They were gentle reminders to get to know the people I traveled with. People I see in church most Sundays and know hardly anything about. At the end of each day, each of us carrying our devotionals, we'd read through the passages and poems Shelley had selected, which often led to some lively discussions about our journeys and our mission experience. We'd share the day, our highs and lows, and we'd bring each other to tears recounting the stories our families might have shared. And it allowed us to give thanks for many things, but also to let us air our frustrations. Hopefully, if some of you read our blog posts, Bobby Anderson and I wrote the Wednesday post. And as Asa just mentioned, I was part of the team that also met Ramonita, and we were just blown away by her and the circumstances that she finds herself living in today. PD, the pet rooster, really was a firm favorite for all of us, and she really touched our hearts. as mentioned, we saw the debris just laying around our home, and we said in Connecticut, how simple would that have been for us to rent a dumpster. There were 6 of us standing there waiting for paint to dry, and that we could have just loaded that up. But we were told constantly, things don't work that way in Puerto Rico. This statement caused us a lot of frustration, but we had to understand that we were not in Connecticut. On the last page, the devotional asks, what will you say to people about your experience? And my answer would be that I'm so thankful I went. The Puerto Rican people we met welcomed us, thrilled that we were there to help. So many of them still surrounded by storm damage and homes that were much in need of work, so much more work than any of us could do. And despite the circumstances they find themselves in, they invited us into their homes so we could witness the damage done and how, after 18 months, they are coping with that situation. One evening, during our devotional time, we discussed that our presence was just as important as the physical work we did. I am an outreach deacon, and we are told we are the doers, the hard-working hands of FPC. And on those hot days, on those hot roofs, I tried to remember that I am the hands of this church that carried me to Puerto Rico. I am in awe of their resilience to overcome so much and yet still be joyful. I will carry their stories with me, I will hold them in my heart, and be reminded that we are all God's people, and we have a duty to take care of each other, not only when natural disasters occur, but each and every day. Helping others should be a daily practice, not just for 1 week on a mission trip. Our relationships to each other are far more impactful than material possessions that we own or covet, except perhaps Petey the chicken. I'll finish up by saying that I know I was one of the last people to sign up for this mission trip, but that next time I would be the first. Thank you, Shelley. I will treasure my devotional and the memories it evokes. And for the rest of my fellow travelers, I am putting myself as a 4 on high maintenance.
I wasn't the number 1. I promise. Unless there's a secret, people are telling me. Good morning. I've been blessed to be on a bunch of these mission trips on behalf of the church. And each time it serves as a great reset for me. It gets me away from the minutiae and the stuff from work and the daily life here in Connecticut, and really puts me in a place of what's important and where our priorities should be. This time, I was so blessed my whole family came along with me. It was the first time we traveled in such a way. Go on vacation together, but so how cool is that? There's my wife Anne, who's my rock. And there's my son Will, who was there to chronicle our efforts and the scene in general. You'll get to see some of his imagery that he made if you go by coffee hour this morning. My daughter Elizabeth, who's like the Energizer bunny. She goes along in a quiet and steadfast grace, which I've never witnessed, frankly. It was her doing the need of what needed to be done. It really was a wonderful thing to witness, particularly when it's your offspring. And finally, there's my sister-in-law, henceforth my sister, Renee, who came from Plymouth, Massachusetts, and she is here with us today. She might not be a member here, but let me tell you, she represented you well. Among the things that she did with Alina and Nancy and others was they created a new garden greeting parishioners at the church in Puerto Rico today as they're celebrating their second day back in the sanctuary. One evening, we were expressing some frustration, as Alina was referring to, in not being able to do enough and being hampered by the local process. Renee stopped us and reminded us of what we should be joyful in, that we could, and that we should be joyful in what we were doing and what we brought them, and in our presence there, and how we were received. That was just brilliant, Renee. Each day, The devotional was dedicated to one of the 7 gifts that was mentioned in the children's portion this morning from Isaiah. It was woven through the devotional like Shelley's hand weaving of this book. If you have a chance to stop one of us to take a look at this, this was an art of love, and it's just a lovely thing that I'm going to treasure forever. There's the 7 gifts. There's wisdom. Psychology today says wisdom is one of those qualities that is difficult to define because it encompasses so much, but which people generally recognize when they encounter it. I was reminded that it takes wisdom sometimes not to speak, believe it or not. There's understanding. We debated the concept of understanding, that it is hard to dislike someone when you understand them if they own a dog. And we got caught up in the minutiae of what that means until we realized that's a metaphor for just understanding a person in total. And once you have an understanding of them, or a community, you have empathy for them, and it changes your perspective on them. There's counsel, knowing the will of God and offering the information when the time is needed. And strength, and the strength that's displayed every day that we were there, and the resilience of the people of Puerto Rico. And the knowledge which brings the understanding and the ability to counsel and the wisdom to know when to use it and when not to use it. Renee's thoughtful response to our Type A debate demonstrated much of these gifts in action. It was disarming and perfect. Thank you, Renee, you're a blessing. And then there's the final gifts, the 2 final gifts of Isaiah, the piety and fear of God. Every morning, as you heard from Asa, there was a service at 6 o'clock in the morning with the clanging bells of the Catholic Church across the street, and the PA shouting loudly in Spanish that much of us couldn't understand. But on the 3rd day, there was a booming tenor singing a beautiful ballad in Spanish that caught my ear. And the refrain was something like, "Él está aquí, él está allí." He is here, he is there. I found that an unbelievably moving moment. And I walked down the street drinking a cup of coffee. It was 6:15, and the sun was coming up behind the place where these services were, and the sky was ablaze in this beautiful rose-colored light. It was like the people of Puerto Rico rising like a phoenix, to use that metaphor. It was really a wonderful thing. When we went to aid them, in retrospect, we went to aid them, but in retrospect, I think in many ways they aided us. While your mission team may struggle with how much we accomplished, I'll tell you this, we came back better for it. Thank you for allowing us to be your representatives there. It was moving, and I'll do it again in a heartbeat. And to paraphrase Asa and Dan, what are you going to do? And I'm going to continue to ask myself, what am I going to do? Thank you.